Why hello there, and welcome to another part of our Blender character tutorial series. Last time around, we started working on the retopology for the face and the body, and this time around we'll finish retopologizing, add some more curves to the hair, and start working on our outfit for the character. So right now I'm going to just focus on the hair, and then later on I will work on finishing retopology for the body and head. Now you might notice at the bottom of the character that there's this one giant shoe. If you watched till the end of the last episode, you might have seen like a small sneak peek. Basically, I just watched a YouTube tutorial on how to make shoes. All you have to do is just type in Blender shoe tutorial and you'll see it. It's probably the most popular shoe tutorial on YouTube. It's pretty good, but yeah, I'm not going to show you how to make it because you can just watch that tutorial. It's really good. So yeah. So once again, I will recommend that when you're duplicating curves, you first go to Object Mode, click on the curve, press Shift D to duplicate it, and then it will automatically snap to your cursor. But instead of moving it, just press Escape to cancel the movement. Then go immediately into Edit Mode by pressing Tab, and then move the vertices. And by doing it this way, you don't have to worry about the origin or the location of the origin for the curve. Now, you don't have to do it this way, but if you do it properly this way, you won't have any issues later on. So here I'm basically enabling proportional editing by pressing O and then using the mouse wheel to increase the proportional editing, and then pressing R to rotate, and that will basically rotate the whole strand, as you can see here, and give you this cool effect. So here I'm just adjusting the hair shape curve, which basically controls the shape of the hair. And just by changing this one curve, it changes all the curves that are associated with it. It's a cool way of changing the hair style very quickly for the whole hair. So here I'm just demonstrating that you can change the resolution of the curve by using this option on the right. And usually when it comes to my hairs, I just keep it between 4 and 12. But most of the time I just do 6. So here I'm finally applying the modifiers for the remesh. And as you can see here, there's some issues that need to be fixed. You can either smooth them out with the smooth brush in sculpt mode, or you can just go into edit mode and fix them manually. So once I apply all the modifiers, I select the midline here for the body. I hide it and then I press L to select the left side of the body, delete vertices, Alt H to unhide the midline, and then add a mirror modifier. And make sure that you enable clipping on the mirror modifier as well. As you can see here, there's this yellow line that you can see in X-ray mode. That basically tells you that the mesh is not properly connected. Or in this case, there are duplicate vertices. As you can see here, there's two vertices on top of each other. Now there is a function in Blender which allows you to clean up these vertices, basically to merge them by distance. I personally don't like doing that, so I just do it manually. As you can see here, I just deleted that vertex. And now the problem is solved. As you can see here, we have a similar problem right here. But once again, we solve it in a similar way. If you're wondering why is this problem happening, well, that's probably because it didn't properly mirror the mesh originally, and then applied the modifier, and then these duplicate vertices appeared. But usually if you do it properly, then you shouldn't have any issues. Now let's talk about the hand right here. As you can see here, it's already been retopologized. It's nice and low poly. And if you're wondering, wait, you didn't show us how you made that. Well, the thing is, I took this hand from a different model. And basically, if you're a beginner, I recommend that you either take a hand from another model, or there are plenty of hand models that you can find on various websites like Sketchfab or TurboSquid. I recommend that you grab those, or you can just box model your own hand. And I do recommend, for example, Rushzilla's YouTube tutorial on how to box model hands and feet. As you saw there, I connected the hand and the rest of the body by joining them together, and then I used loop tools to bridge them. But when I bridged them, the normal maps were inverted. So basically, I just selected those inverted normal maps, I pressed Alt-N, and I flipped them to be correct. So here I'm just using the edge slide or slide relax tool to kind of fix the topology a little bit. And then I'm using the grab brush and the smooth brush to do additional fixes. Now if you're wondering what these colors are, the yellow and the blue, those are just facets. You can get rid of them if you want, but they're not going to hurt you. So now we're going to apply all the modifiers for the face retopology. Make sure that the shrink wrap distance is set to 0 before you apply it. You will get better results that way. So just like for the body, you select the mid edge, you hide it, you press L, delete the left side, unhide the edge, add a mirror modifier to it with clipping. And then you can use X-ray mode to see if there are any holes in the mesh. So once again here, I'm having some holes and problems, but we're gonna fix them. You can also see that we have some duplicate vertices that are on top of each other. And what I did there, I selected the mid edge right there, and then I scale it along 0. And this ensures that they're all in the same line and that they're correctly, mirroring. So as you can see here, I'm just using the slide relax to just fix a little bit of the topology, so they're nice and even, and there's no like weird quads. So here I decided to do some fixing on the Retopology mesh. I masked off the top part of the mouth, which, just to remind you guys, you can press, for example, let's say you're holding the grab brush, you can press Ctrl Shift and then drag left click to mask off a portion of the mesh, in this case the upper lips. Unfortunately, the version of Blender that I'm using has this bug where if you go into scope mode and then you make a mask and then go to object mode and then back into scope mode, the mask just disappears. And here I'm wondering, where's the mask? I literally had it there 2 seconds ago and I can't mask anything, and then boom, all of a sudden it just appears. So this is another way you can do masking. You can press Shift A and then start dragging, and this will basically unmask a certain portion of the mesh. Try it out and you'll see what I'm talking about. Here I'm pinching the upper lip a little bit to give it a little bit more sharpness. So as you can see here, the eye is clipping a little bit into the mesh. So I'm just going to use proportional editing to move this part a little bit forward. And then I just select that edge around the eye and extrude it towards the back of the character. So now we're going to do the brows and the eyelashes. As you can see here, I'm just grabbing a plane, giving it a little bit of mirroring, subdivision, shrink wrap, and of course solidify. As you can see here at the top, I'm using snap mode enabled to face. Snap to face. Now we're going to do the eyelashes. Pretty similar story. We're going to be using the same modifiers pretty much. Here I'm just adjusting the eye shape a little bit before I put the eyelashes. As you can see here, all I'm doing is extruding faces and making like a border around the eyes using the face snap mode. Here we're going to extrude the faces, but make sure that you have snap mode disabled. Another tip I can give you guys is if you extrude, for example, an edge, or edges in this case, you can immediately press S to scale them. So just press E and then you immediately press S. Now here I'm using a shortcut to edge crease, which the shortcut is Shift E. So you basically select the edge. Or here I'm demonstrating that if in the end menu right there on the right, there's a slider that you can also use if you don't want to use the shortcut. So here I just added a solidify, then change the thickness. And here I enabled Auto Smooth, which as you can see here gave me this cleaner look. As you can see here, this is my hair material. Feel free to copy it if you want, if you like the material. It's okay if you don't understand how the material works. When I first started using nodes, I had no idea how they worked. I just copied them over, and then over time, you will realize what each node does and how to combine them. My recommendation is that you first just copy nodes and then later on figure out what they do. But here I'm just changing the color of the hair. And then I'm changing the eye material here. Once again, feel free to copy it over if you want. Now please forgive me for the super slideshow laggy video. It seems that my computer does not like streaming and recording at the same time while I'm in material preview. But basically all I'm doing is just changing colors around and then seeing if I like them. So this is my skin material. As you can see here, I have two materials on top of each other, and I'm using the material at the bottom. And I'm just testing things around, moving some sliders, changing colors, adjusting things. And once again, sorry for the slideshow. It will get better in future videos, for sure. And don't worry, the rest of the video where I'm modeling and doing stuff in solid mode are gonna be smooth. They're not gonna be laggy. And I know people are gonna ask me, did I make these materials? How did I get them? How do I know how to use them? Well, it's a combination of multiple things. These materials, some of them I found in YouTube tutorials, some of them I found by watching Twitch streamers, some of them I found just by Googling, and some of them I made my own. So yeah, it's a combination of things. So here I decided to experiment a little bit and see if I can make a new material for the hair. But in the end, I just stuck with the original one. So here I'm spawning an empty, which is this like box, but it's useful for many things, mostly for parenting and animations and moving things around. But here I'm gonna create an animation system that will rotate the camera and the lights 360 around the character. So I'm parenting the light to the empty. As you can see there, there's a line between them. So when you move the empty, you also move the camera. And I will also add a constraint that will track the light towards the empty, as you can see there. So I can move the light up and down, left and right, but it will always face towards the empty. And here I'm just experimenting with some options, but the best options are to just leave them as default. Here I'm just adjusting the strength of the light, and also make sure that you have contact shadows enabled for those really good shadows. And also creating a collection here to keep things organized. And then I'm just duplicating the lights to create that classic 3-point light setup. You have your key light, your fill light, and your backlight. So just like we did with the hands, we're going to do with the feet. And once again, I recommend either modeling your feet and hands on your own, or just grabbing them from other models or from websites and stuff like that. Now, you could also sculpt your feet and hands, but if you're a beginner, I wouldn't recommend it. It's very hard to sculpt hands and feet, especially if you're trying to make it realistic. So just sculpt the body and the head, and then box model the hands and the feet. And then retopologize the body and the head, and connect the modeled hands and feet with the retopologized body, just like I'm doing here. Now, is that the only way? Of course not, but it's definitely gonna make your life much easier later down the line if you do it this way. And once again, I'm just doing some cleanup here with the slide relax tool. Just to remind you guys, basically all I'm doing here is I have the brush selected, and I'm pressing and holding shift, and this will just clean up the quads so they're all equal. Now, if you're wondering what's so important about having equal quads, right? Well, it will help you out later down the line when you're weight painting. By having equal quads, it means that the weight painting will also be equal, or easier, I should say, to apply evenly and smoothly, giving you better results when you rig your character. Plus, you don't want certain parts of your character to be much denser than others. Now here I'm planning on obviously connecting the body and the foot, but unfortunately the amount of edges there at the bottom is not equal to the amount of edges here on the foot. So I have to use this trick that you just saw to remove some edges. And once again, I select the top edge, I select the bottom edge, I right click, loop tools, and then bridge. And as you can see here, once again, we have normals that have been inverted. You just select them, press Alt N, and then flip them. And once again, I'm using the slide relax tool to fix the topology here. Here I was just explaining what facets are. As you can see here, you can just click at the top where it says facets and then create facets from visible to basically create facet groups. And there are other ways of creating facets as well. So here's that shoe that we had at the end of the last episode. And once again, if you're wondering how I made this, I thought, this was supposed to be like a full tutorial explaining everything. Well, personally, I thought that it didn't really need to be in the tutorial, especially when there's a whole tutorial series dedicated just to creating this shoe on YouTube. All you just have to do is just type in Blender shoe tutorial, and I think it's literally the most popular tutorial series on when it comes to making shoes in Blender. So yeah, just watch that series. I think it's like 3 episodes long. Each episode is like, I think it's more than an hour, maybe 2 hours. Basically, it explains everything, how to create the shoe. It even explains how to do shading and everything. So basically, that's what I did. I just watched the tutorial, made the shoe, and then here I'm using it now. So if you're wondering what I'm doing right here, I'm basically adding a vertex group and then assigning these vertices to that group and then adding a mask modifier. Give it a second until I find it. I'm just looking around for it, being blind as usual. There we go. And then I'm selecting the mask vertex group, and then I'm inverting it. And basically, this will just hide those vertices that I've selected. They're still there, they're just hidden. And the reason why I want to hide them is because it's easier to just hide them. If we didn't hide them, we would have to move those vertices so they're inside the shoe, and that would be just unnecessary amount of work. And here I'm just adjusting the mask. Just deleting the old vertex group and creating a new one, and then assigning these vertices to it. And there you have it. And now I'm using shape keys right here. So what are shape keys? Well, shape keys allow you to basically edit the mesh, but also keep the original. For example, I just enabled those shape keys. I created 2 of them. One is the basic shape key, which you need, and then the other one is the new shape that you want to create. Make sure that the value is set to 1, and then you can either go into edit mode or sculpt mode and then start sculpting the body or editing it. And then you don't have to worry about the original shape, because the original shape is still stored and you can go back to it at any moment. So it's basically non-destructive workflow. Very useful if you want to use your model for different purposes and different outfits and just different stuff in general. So here I decided to get rid of the the vertex groups. I personally didn't really need them in the first place, but so here I'm just smoothing things around, moving them a little bit here and there, trying to get the leg kinda to be into the shoe. So here I just grabbed another empty. And this empty is going to be the mirror object for our shoe. And because our shoe is made out of a bunch of meshes, what I'm going to be doing for the next couple of moments is just clicking on each of those meshes and then adding a mirror to it, and then selecting the mirror object to be that empty. As you can see, that's basically what I'm doing. And there we go, it's done. So here, I wasn't really happy with the current material for the shoe. So I decided to do some changes to it. If I remember correctly, we ended up making like a camera material, which you can kind of see here using the Voronoi texture. And there you can see here, we have that nice camo texture. So I think at this point I'm starting the process to connect the head and the body. So the general rule is that if you want a nice clean connection between two meshes, between two loop cuts I should say, is that they should have the same amount of edges. And if they don't have the same amount of edges, you can either remove edges from the object that has more than they should, or you can add edges to the object that has less than they should. As you can see here, I'm just removing some edges instead of adding them. There we go, I just bridged them together, just like I did with the feet and hands. And as you can see here, this time around, the normals are actually good, so we don't have to do anything. So I went into sculpt mode, and I got rid of all these facets, as you can see there. And then we decided to fix the topology a little bit. I also do recommend that you use the smooth brush here as well, as you can see here. So I think at this point, I start working on the actual outfit for the character. So first I selected those two edges, one near the bottom of the shoe, or the bottom of the leg, and then one around the belly button. I hit them, then I pressed L to select in between, and I pressed P to separate them by selection, and then I'm creating a new group here, or a collection called outfit, and moving the shoe and the pants into that group. There I just removed the vertex group from the pants. It was not necessary, so I decided to just get rid of it. And as you can see there, they're the pants. Unfortunately, they're kind of clipping with the body a little bit right now, so you can't really see them well. But I think any second now I should add a solidify. There we go. So as you can see here, the pants are basically skin tight, so that's why I decided to just copy a portion of the actual body itself and then turn it into pants. Now here I think I'm going to hide the body that's underneath the pants, because we're not going to be able to see the body underneath the pants, obviously. So just by hiding it and masking it out, as you can see here, just as soon as I figure out what's the problem, there we go. going to select it. And just like we did with the feet themselves, we're going to create a vertex group and assign these vertices to that group, and then just use the mask modifier to hide it. And why are we doing this? Well, because when we use this mask modifier, it basically hides these vertices, and then when we go to render, the final product, they're not going to be there, meaning our computer will have to render, or will be able to render faster because they're hidden. So we're just optimizing the mesh a little bit. So here I just went to sculpt mode and I'm just adjusting things for the pants themselves. So here I'm just using Alt S to scale along normals to add a little bit of detail here at the top part of the pants. At this point, I'm just doing basic modeling, moving vertices up and down, left and right, just so I get certain shapes and things that I want. So there I just did a similar thing that I did for the pants themselves. I selected an edge loop, I duplicated it, and then I pressed P to separate it into a different object. So we can kind of get this nice, well, it will be nice once it's actually been fixed, kind of like border. And for those who are wondering, why am I doing so much sculpting? This is like a low poly mesh. Why am I using sculpting and stuff like that? But the thing is, even though it's a low poly mesh, you can always still sculpt with it. And don't worry about, like having a proper tablet. All I'm doing right here is just using my mouse and keyboard. And basically think of sculpting as the same thing as going into edit mode and then using proportional editing. You select one vertex, then you enable proportional editing, and you move that vertex and all the vertices around it. Well, that's basically what the grab brush is in sculpting. It's literally the same thing. So there I just did a basic bevel. And then I scaled the middle vertex edge by pressing Alt-S, as you can see there. So here I'm just copying the skin material from the actual body skin, pasting it here into the pants, and what I'm gonna be doing is just changing some colors and some settings right there, because I want it to be a similar style, except just properly colored. You'll see it here in a second. So as you can see here, I'm pretty much using the same material, or I should say the same node setup, but I'm changing the colors, adjusting some settings, and the overall theme of the toon shader stays, while the colors are obviously different. So I did a similar thing here. I added an edge loop, and then I scaled this guy down a little bit. So here I'm going to be adding the material to this mesh. And copying the previous material into this new one, and then we're going to be changing some stuff. And then go into edit mode and then select the second material, then assign it to it. And this will basically assign all the selected faces slash, well, just faces, I guess, to that new material. And here I just duplicated the bottom edge, the bottom faces, to create like a border here for the legs. So yeah, I think this is going to be the sports bra. So basically how I did this is I just first added a bunch of modifiers there on the right, and then I started slowly getting the shape that I want for the bra. Here I just duplicated one of the faces and positioned them on the buas so I can start getting the topology that I want for the brow. At this point, this is just regular, modeling, moving things around, creating edges, vertices, faces, move things around. And obviously, make sure that you have a reference. It will help you out a lot. So here I decided to add a shrink wrap modifier. Now usually if you just keep the default settings, the shrink wrap modifier will just try to basically shrink wrap the whole mesh onto the mesh that you have selected. But let's say, what if you want some like distance between certain parts? For example, in between the boobas, the bra is, you know, not skin tight. It's like actually loose, you know, in between the boobas. So basically, if that's the case, you want to change the setting in shrink wrap called wrap method and change it to project, and then use the settings here that I've selected on the right. And this will make sure that certain parts, for example, like the mesh in between the boobas, will not be affected by the shrink wrap. So there you just saw me rip an edge. The way you rip an edge in Blender is you select the edge and you press V, and basically it will automatically just rip it, like disconnect it. And then you can move it around and then merge it with a different edge if you want. So here I'm just copying material from the pants. And I'll be copying it into the actual sports bra. And once again, sorry for the lag. So here I'm selecting all the edge vertices. which actually there is a shortcut they can use called select non-manifold, which will automatically select all the edge vertices for you. But I did it manually here. And then I separated them. Well, I duplicated them and separated them into their own mesh. And basically, in a second, once I've separated all of them and combined them into all one mesh, I'll be using a skin modifier to basically get like a border. You'll see in a second. So here I'm just subdividing a little bit, and then I'm using that skin modifier. I clicked on the button marked root to just make sure that all the edges have the skin modifier on them. And then here it's very important, I press Ctrl A. So yeah, you have to press Ctrl A to scale them down. There's also in the end menu, you can scale them down in there as well, just with a slider. If you don't know what the end menu is, it's basically the menu on the right that appears when you press the shortcut N. That's why it's called end menu, because you press N and it appears. Here I'm just adding some vertices there to get the proper shape for the edge border. So here I'm just shrink wrapping the border onto the bra itself. Then here I decided to make the border a little bit bigger. Now as you can see here, I kind of forgot to duplicate this part of the bra, so that's basically what I'm doing right now, duplicating, separating, and then I'll be combining it with the border mesh. So first I selected that new duplicate, then I selected the border mesh, and you can press Ctrl J to combine it. And then don't forget to mark root again. Select that border, Ctrl A while that's only selected, and then scale them down. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Feel free to check out my Discord, a place to hang around, and I basically post all my art there, so that's pretty cool. Don't forget, this whole series was recorded on my Twitch, so feel free to check me out there. I stream every day, except the weekends. I chill on the weekends. But yeah, that's it. Take care, have a lovely day,